Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for the advance copy of her statement. These 26 pages are a testament to the failure of the Tories' bungled negotiations. 19 extra pages, but nothing has changed. The only certainty contained within these pages is that the transition period will have to be extended, or we will end up with a backstop and no exit. It represents the worst of all worlds. No say over the rules that will continue to apply, and no certainty for the future. There is no change to the withdrawal agreement, no unilateral pull-out mechanism, no concessions on the backstop, which would create a new regulatory border down the Irish Sea. Mr. Speaker, did the EU not receive the amendments and improvements promised by the Leader of the House? A little over a year ago, we were confidently told by the government that by the end of the Article 50 period, we would have a trade deal. The International Trade Secretary said it would be the easiest in human history. Instead, we have 26 pages of waffle. This empty document could have been written 2 years ago. It's peppered with phrases such as the parties will look at, the parties will explore. What on earth has the government been doing for the last 2 years? They've managed less than 1 page a month since the referendum. The Prime Minister said nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. It's clear from this document that indeed nothing is agreed. This is the blindfold Brexit we all feared, a leap in the dark. It falls short of our Labour's 6 tests. This government could have negotiated a new comprehensive customs union, giving certainty to business and securing manufacturing industry and manufacturing industry jobs. Instead, Mr. Speaker, they're more interested with dog whistling on immigration. I hope.
Order. When the Prime Minister delivered her statement, she delivered it to a largely attentive and courteous House. Order. I couldn't care less what somebody largely inaudibly and certainly irrelevantly chunters from a sedentary position. The Prime Minister was heard in courtesy. The Right Honourable Gentleman, the Leader of the Opposition, will likewise be heard in courtesy. If it requires the process to take a bit longer, so be it. If it requires it to take a lot longer, so be it. If it takes several hours, so be it. So give up, be quiet, behave on both sides, and let's hear people speak. Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope the Prime Minister will abandon the sort of poisonous and divisive rhetoric about EU nationals jumping the queue. European Union nationals have contributed massively to this country across all industry and public services, while it is this government and this Prime Minister as Home Secretary who built a hostile environment for non-EU immigrants. Chequers has been chucked. There is no common rule book and no mention of frictionless trade. Our participation is downgraded in a number of European agencies, or we're out of them in their entirety. After more than 2 years of negotiations, Mr. Speaker, there is no clarity over our status with a range of European-wide agencies. The Erasmus scheme, the Galileo project, Euratom, the European Medicines Agency, the European Chemicals Agency and the European Aviation Safety Industry. Or on none of these do we know our final status. Take, for example, section 107 of the document. It says, and I wish to quote from it, the parties should consider appropriate arrangements for cooperation on space. Well, what a remarkable negotiating achievement that is. After 2 years, they're going to consider appropriate arrangements. Mr. Speaker, this is waffle, the blindfold Brexit of a government that spent more time arguing with itself than negotiating for Britain. On fisheries, the Prime Minister and the Environment Secretary have been saying that Britain will leave the common fisheries policy and become an independent coastal nation. Yet, this agreement sets an aspiration to establish a new fisheries agreement on access to waters and quota shares by summer 2020. That sounds to me like we're replacing membership of the common fisheries policy with a new common fisheries policy. It's clear, absolutely clear, that during what will now inevitably be an extended transition period, there will be no control of our money, our laws and our borders, or indeed of fishing stocks for a very long time to come. The Prime Minister stood on the steps of Downing Street and said a deal had been agreed between the UK and the European Commission, and it was now up to the EU 27. Until this Parliament has debated and voted, there is no UK agreement. This half-baked deal is a product of 2 years of botched negotiations in which the Prime Minister's red lines have been torn up, cabinet resignations have been racked up and Chequers has been chucked. This is a vague menu of options, not a plan for the future and not capable of bringing our country together.